7 o'clock in the morning. The alarm rings. You wake up. You wash. You get dressed. You go to work. You work. You eat. You sleep. This cycle continues for days, for months, for years. And one day, at a moment you least expect, on a park bench, in a crowded subway, or while stirring your morning coffee, your mind asks you that question. What is all this for? In that moment, the scenery collapses. The stage crumbles. You find yourself inside a play whose meaning you do not know. Most people fear this question. They immediately run away. They take refuge in religion. They take refuge in money. They take refuge in love. Anything to avoid being alone with that void. But there was one man. He did not run. He stared into that darkness and told humanity this. There is but one truly serious philosophical problem, and that is suicide. Judging whether life is or is not worth living. Everything else is merely a game. His name was Albert Camus, and he promised us not a fake heaven, but a brutal, yet real earth. The universe is silent. Man speaks, and in between, the absurd. To understand Camus, you must first understand his silence. Algiers, a poor neighborhood. His father was torn apart in the war when he was just an infant. His mother was left behind. His mother was half-deaf. She almost never spoke. Her vocabulary did not exceed 400 words. Little Albert could not explain his pain. He could not explain his love. He could not explain his anger. His mother would just look and keep silent, just like the universe. Camus learned the silence of God, not from philosophy books, but from his mother's silence. We scream at the universe. We wait for an answer. The universe just looks at us and keeps silent. This is what Camus calls the absurd, the collision between man's scream and the silence of the world. The absurd is not a grand philosophical word. It is doing everything normally in the morning and collapsing in the evening without knowing why. This silence was a destiny. But for Camus, it wasn't cruel enough yet. Silence was not enough. The universe did not just stay silent. It took another step. This time, the answer came from the body. Camus did not want to be a philosopher. He wanted to be a footballer. He loved the sun. He loved the sea. He loved his body. But at 17, his own body betrayed him. He began coughing up blood. Diagnosis: tuberculosis. At that time, this meant death. For a young person, the future is infinite. For Camus, there was no future. There was only now. This illness taught him a harsh lesson. Hope is a trap. To say the future will be beautiful is to sacrifice today. If we are going to die, and we are, postponing life is the greatest lie. Camus does not target hope, but the hope that makes you wait. This is why Camus was so in love with living. His philosophy was written not with the dust of libraries, but with the blood of lungs. The universe was silent. The body was collapsing. But the mind had not fled yet. When you feel death on your neck, a human clings to two things, either the truth or consolation. Camus rejected consolation. According to Camus, there are two types of suicide. The first is killing the body. He rejects this. The second is more dangerous. Philosophical suicide. This is killing the mind. This world is absurd, but the next world is just. We suffer today, but after the revolution, there is paradise. Camus calls this the leap. Because you fear the void, you cancel your mind and leap into the lap of an imaginary meaning. Camus is harsh. I do accept present injustice for the sake of future justice. He did not want consolation. He wanted the truth. And the truth had a face, maskless, cold, disturbing. The truth is heavy, and the person who can carry it is dangerous to society. His name, Meursault. His mother dies. He does not cry. The next day, he goes to the sea. He kills a man. In court, he says, "It was because of the sun." Society hates him. Why? Because he killed an Arab? No, because he didn't cry at his mother's funeral. Meursault's crime is this: not lying. Society wants a role. It wants regret. It wants masks. Meursault only lives what is. What takes him to the guillotine is not murder. What kills him is honesty. Camus says of him, "He is the only Christ we deserve," because he was willing to die for the sake of telling the truth. Meursault is not stone-hearted. He is simply someone who refuses to play the role. If this world is a courtroom and the verdict never ends, are we not all a kind of Sisyphus? The gods were clever when punishing Sisyphus. They didn't whip him. They didn't chain him. They gifted him hopelessness. His punishment was simple. He would push a giant rock up a steep mountain, and just when he reached the summit, the stone would roll down by its own weight, and this cycle would last forever. This story is not just an ancient myth. It is the very essence of the stifling routine. Modern man lives every day in offices, factories, and cramped lives. Wake up, work, go home, sleep. Repeat. A futile and endless effort. Is there a way out of this hell? Camus focuses on the moment that seems most tragic in the story. The moment the stone rolls down from the summit and Sisyphus walks back down to retrieve it. Camus calls this the hour of consciousness. During that walk, Sisyphus fully grasps how terrible a thing the gods have condemned him to. He sees the misery of his fate. But this is exactly where the miracle happens. The moment Sisyphus sees his fate, he chooses to despise it rather than bow to it. He tells himself, "Yes, this stone is heavy. Yes, this task is meaningless. But this stone is my stone. This fate is my fate." The gods wanted to crush him, but by owning his punishment, he takes the victory away from the gods. No god can punish a man who does not complain about his fate. As Camus said, "There is no fate that cannot be surmounted by scorn." Sisyphus's walk down is no longer a torment, but a silent march of victory. Within meaninglessness, he has created his own meaning. Happiness is not everything going perfectly. Happiness is the courage to push that stone with obstinacy, joy, and anger, despite all the absurdity and cruelty of the world. That is why the struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. One must imagine Sisyphus not unhappy, but happy. Happiness here is not pleasure. It is an invincible stance. Few feuds in the history of philosophy are as bloody and instructive as the feud between Camus and Sartre. They were once the kings of Paris, friends standing shoulder to shoulder. But history drove a sharp knife between them. Jean-Paul Sartre, as a philosopher, believed in the great march of history. To him, communism was the salvation of humanity. And for the sake of this magnificent future, today's violence, concentration camps, and executions could be tolerated. Sartre was the voice of that cold logic that says, "The end justifies the means." He said, "History has dirty hands. If you want a revolution, you have to break eggs." Camus slammed his fist on the table at this point. He came from poverty. He knew violence not from theoretical books, but from the streets. He answered Sartre's intellectual arrogance with the purest conscience of humanity. No ideology, no promise of a magnificent future, is worth more than a mother's single tear or a human being's present suffering. For Camus, human life was not something to be gambled with. He could not say yes to living a hell today for the sake of a heaven to be established tomorrow. His friends turned their backs on him. Intellectuals accused him of being a coward who didn't understand history. They condemned him to loneliness and silence. But Camus did not step back. He said, "I would rather be solitary on the side of the victims than on the side of the executioners while writing history." He was not a revolutionary, but a rebel, because a revolutionary can kill a man for the system. A rebel is willing to die for a man, but will not kill. Today, history has vindicated not Sartre's brilliant intellect, but Camus's trembling conscience. If life is meaningless, if we are all going to die one day and the sky is empty, then is everything permissible? Can we kill each other? Camus' novel, The Plague, is the noblest answer given to this nihilistic question. In the novel, the city of Oran is cut off from the outside world by a terrible plague epidemic. This plague is not just a germ, it is fascism, it is evil, it is that dark indifference inside man. While people die like flies, the city gates are closed. Despair covers everything like a fog. The hero of the novel, Dr. Rieu, stands in the middle of this disaster. Can he defeat the plague? No. Can he stop the deaths? Probably not. Victory is impossible. But Dr. Rieu wakes up every morning, takes his bag, and goes to dress the wounds of the patients. When asked why he does this, why he doesn't pray to God or try to escape, his answer is very simple. It is my job. Rieu is not a hero, certainly not a saint. He is simply someone trying to remain human in a moment of disaster. Here, Camus transforms individual rebellion into social solidarity. He no longer says, "I rebel, therefore I exist." He says, "I rebel, therefore we exist." Because we are in the same darkness, the same death, and the same absurdity. In this meaningless universe, the only warmth we have is the hand of the other. Dr. Rieu teaches us this. We may not be able to completely erase evil from the world, but we can refuse to serve it. Do not try to be a saint. Just do your job and do not abandon the one next to you. This is the only honor of being human. The plague is not just a disease. It is the name of every evil that spreads. Towards the end of his life, Camus used his pen like a scalpel to write his most dangerous work, The Fall. This book was not a novel that comforted the reader, but an indictment that put them in the defendant's chair. The main character of the book, Jean-Baptiste Clémence, is Paris's most respected, most charitable lawyer, the protector of widows and orphans, that perfect man. He is in love with his own goodness and morality. Until that night. On a foggy night, while crossing a bridge, he hears a young woman jump into the water. He hears that terrible scream, the body hitting the water. But he does not stop. He does not slow his steps. Without even looking back, he disappears into that fog. No one saw, no one will know. But in that moment, the good person mask inside Clémence shatters into pieces. All his charity, all his morality, was actually just a show, a theater satisfying his own ego. From that day on, everywhere, even in empty rooms, he begins to hear a mocking laughter following him. Through Clémence, Camus actually holds that mirror up to us, to all of us. The only reason we think we are good people is that we haven't yet crossed the bridge that will test us. Camus whispers that disturbing question. Are you innocent? How many times have you ignored cries for help? How many times Have you silenced your conscience and continued walking your comfortable life? The fall is the hardest slap delivered to the hypocrisy of modern man. Camus tells us, "Let no one judge anyone. Let no one climb onto podiums and give moral lectures. Because on that bridge, in that darkness, we are all accomplices." Innocence is just a fairy tale. And the story ends with an absurd silence, just as it began. The date is January 4th, 1960. Albert Camus stands with an unused train ticket to Paris in his pocket. His family went by train, but he was persuaded to go in his publisher Gallimard's sports car. The road was smooth. The weather was clear. There was no apparent danger. But the car veered off the road in a way that baffled even the laws of physics and crashed into a plane tree, shattering. The man who questioned the meaning of life, who, when asked, "What is the most absurd way to die?" answered, "To die in a car crash," lost his life inside a meaningless pile of metal. From his bag emerged a mud-stained file. The first man. An unfinished manuscript, sentences cut short, the great novel where he searched for his father and his roots. Just as he was trying to return to where he started, to his childhood, life cut him off. This unfinished state was actually the greatest proof of his philosophy. Life does not end with a happy ending like a Hollywood movie. Often it doesn't even have a meaning, a finale, or a farewell. It just cuts off. Camus did not leave us a completed prescription. What he left us was the courage within that incompleteness, the power to find that invincible summer inside us, even in the harshest cold of winter. There is no meaning, yes. There is no finale, yes. But we are here. Now, this breath, this sun, and this rock exist, and we will continue to push that stone to the summit with obstinacy and love, knowing it will fall. Because living is the only action that needs no other meaning. The universe is silent. Man speaks. And in between, the absurd. But we are still here, at the foot of the rock.